All right, welcome back, everybody. So, this process of reinvention and rediscovery, really that feeling of just being lost, of like, I don't feel like I'm going down the right direction. I'm not going in the way I want to go. We all recognize that feeling at some point. If that wasn't the case, the statistics wouldn't be true of how many times Americans change their career in through a lifetime. So this is a reality that we all know. So let me bring Deirdre back on. Deirdre, what have you noticed so far with what Wendy's been talking about of not only finding the reinvention process, but everything from the aha and those little moments? What have you noticed so far?
Well, I'm noticing when she talks about the reinvention and changing your career that it's a lot. There's a tremendous amount of steps, and sometimes the efforts you take don't exactly equal the results that you see. So that's important to keep in mind. And I'm getting this feeling that just searching for a new job is a job in and of itself. So can you imagine an entire reinvention? You're changing your career or your industry. I think it takes a lot of patience and resilience. You're going to get knocked down, but the strong get back up and keep going. And that's what Wendy speaks to.
And the principle she's laying out, I think she applies it in the finding a career model, and I think that's really just our valid illustration here. Because let's say, what if a person just reinventing themselves in a different identity within the same workplace, even, and
Sure.
it's that same process of the small wins, because we've also all been in that place where you get categorized within a role, or you're just kind of stuck in a rut where everyone around you, the boss, just only thinks you're only capable of certain things. But the principles she's laying out are applicable there too. It's the small wins, the testing, the so what do you think about that in a little bit different context?
Well, I think that if it's within your own company, sometimes I think about the junior who starts at a company and wants to climb the corporate ladder. How hard is it? Because everybody is looking at you as the most junior person as you're trying to excel and grow. So there are a lot of challenges there. But at the same time, like you said, Todd, getting your priorities, taking your North Star forward, knowing that you're going to test. You need to talk to people. If you're interested
Mm-hmm.
in doing something different, you're going to talk to people within your company who are doing what you want to do and get as much information as you can. These steps work no matter where you are.
Absolutely. So now let's take a minute. Let's analyze one of the main tools that she said she uses on a regular basis, and it's the magic wand. Let's take a look at your interview on that.
Wendy, you mentioned as one of your tools the magic wand, and I've never heard that one. I think I said that before. Let's talk a little bit more about it. When you introduce the magic wand to somebody, what's their reaction?
When I mention this idea, if I had a magic wand and I can wave it and you can do whatever you wanted to do professionally, what would that be? Many people have thought about that question, right? They've considered it, but it's so overwhelming that they can't, it doesn't move them forward. And sometimes people are scared to even allow themselves to dream because they've been stuck in a situation with work where they've just been beaten down and they've really put their dreams on the back burner. So to give this permission structure where they could actually have a moment of fantasizing, and sometimes people will say right away, I don't know.
Mm.
And then I would encourage them, well, if you had a guess, just give me one. And if I just am persistent in getting them just to come up with something, it's the great beginning of a conversation. It's not necessarily that's what they're going to end up doing, but embedded in that answer is something that we can explore, that we can dive into. We can pull on those threads to see, all right, what is that about? What's in that idea? How does that reflect your deepest desire?
Oh, that's a good process, because dare to dream. If they can say it, then you can, even if it's so outrageous, you can still get something from it. There's a small piece that they don't even realize could play out, and that could be their next big transformation. Do you think that there's something about, I feel like when we're younger, we dream so much more. And somewhere along the line, we're told, don't be a dreamer, put it into action, stop dreaming. If you just think about it, it's not going to happen. And it sounds like you're really going back to a state of getting into your childlike mindset and dream a little.
Yeah, in fact, one of the tools, one of my visioning tools, is maybe asking someone what did they want to be when they were a kid, because that sometimes, if they're willing to share that and can dig that deep, that might uncover the desire, something about that reflects the desire they have today. And again, this is a question that I think really we're working with a coach and giving them the permission to go for it and not feel silly, to really be able to express it in a safe environment can be the first step to understanding what is it about that thing that we can put into something that you can really make happen.
Right. Has there ever been a case where you pull out the wand or the visioning tool and what somebody says actually plays out?
Well, I have this situation that we talked about earlier of someone who wanted to have impact and wanted to help bring education to populations that didn't have access to it. And that was the beginning of him actually being able to realize it. So, yeah, it works.
It's a great example and great tools. Is there any other tool or anything else that you want to share about your process that would enlighten us and make people feel more comfortable about coaching and opening up and daring to dream to go down that path?
I always it took me a long time of being out of a job and flailing to find my to get my aha moment, my epiphany, if you will, that I wanted to become a career coach. I believe that had I worked with a coach, that process would have been far more streamlined. Because as a coach, I can hear I can hear what people are what's bubbling up and know how to pull on those threads to turn it into an action step, and then they can test the idea. And I truly believe had I worked with a coach, I could have gotten to that um, idea for myself, because while I was flailing around, I had such a longing for someone to help me. That's where the seeds were sown for my origin story to become a coach, because I knew that I had that need. And if someone would have been able to tease that out, I would have been able to get there faster. That wasn't meant to be. And part of my journey was being in the wilderness, the career wilderness, for a long time. And that helps me help people when they're in that state of mind, to help them get through it faster.
Yes. And the good news is you are coaching and you are helping. So thank you, Wendy.
I love that, Deirdre. For us to discuss this, I really let's go into the psychology of that pressure moment. So if you're in a pressure moment, it means you're bracing yourself. If you're bracing yourself, you're clenching and you're really holding tight to something. You're holding tight because you're fearful of what's going on in this moment. I think the power of this magic wand, I like to use the what is happily ever after look like. It's the freedom and the permission to go, okay, let's let go of the immediate for a moment and let's just widen out our view. She talked a lot about freedom and permission. What are your thoughts?
Well, sometimes we just need permission, permission to dream, permission to be, to maybe take a risk. And what you said about holding on, that's the safe space. That's when we're in that fear mode. And if I change, I could fail. So I really like that Wendy takes out the magic wand. And even if somebody just says, well, I don't know, a coach doesn't stop there. A coach asks another question so that you can get something, just a little bit to pull out, and you can create from there.
Yeah, I always ask permission at the very beginning. I say, you may say something that I want to pause and just go maybe two, three, maybe sometimes four layers deeper. And just, if you'll just have an adventure with me and let's kind of go off, and it may lead us to something, it may not. So it's like they don't have the permission, they don't feel like they need to perform, but it's like, let's just discover together.
Right. Words like dream, explore, adventure, that makes it a little easier to go down that path, don't you think?
Oh, I absolutely do. Absolutely love this. Let's jump into another case study, and watch her at play, and watch the whole process play out with her. All right, everybody, stick with us. So after the break, we're going to go into another case study that Wendy has of another situation where we see this discovery process play out, and a person completely choose a new reinvented path. Stick with us.